The Dukes of Dice are brought to you by Game Toppers, completely forgetting Feldmas, and listeners like you.
Welcome to the Duchy. It's time for another episode of the Dukes of Dice podcast, a proud member of the Dice Tower Network.
Coming to you from the Duchy in the Duke City, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the Gateway City, St. Louis, Missouri, it's The Dukes of Dice, a podcast about board, card, and probably not role-playing games. Today, the Dukes review Machi, Koro 2 from Pandasaurus Games. Then they take a look back at the review of Castles of Tuscany in their Dukes Double Take. And now, The Dukes of Dice.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Sean.
And Alex.
And you're joining us for episode 265 that we're calling A Fail of Two Cities. We're talking about two city-themed games, Alex, and that title comes from Phil Speck over on our Board Game Geek Guild. And Alex, I got to say, we had some good names, but that one was the clear runaway leader.
Yes, yeah. Some contenders for sure, but no, as soon as Phil posted that, I knew in my heart of hearts that at the very least, if you didn't like that one, we were going to have to do a rock, paper, scissors or a schwazi off for it, because there was not a chance that wasn't going to be my pick, at least.
I have done so much rock, paper, scissors in the last 2 weeks, Alex. It is incredible. I've probably played rock, paper, scissors 100 and some times.
Why?
Pokemon. I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay. All right. Have you caught them all yet, Sean?
I have caught the ball.
Oh.
Wait,
okay.
what?
Okay. Congrats.
Is that
You're
thing?
supposed to do it.
Wait, what?
Oh, the fact that you don't know that's a thing is just sad. You don't know the phrase "gotta catch 'em all"? Pokemon.
Oh, gotta catch them all. I thought you said, "Have you caught the ball?"
No. What?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I gotta catch them all. I thought you said anyway. Anyway, Phil, great episode title. We love it. We get help naming all of our episodes from our Dukes of Dice Guild. We're guild number 2008 over on BoardGameGeek.com. And we've got some runners-up, the good runners-up that we talked about, that we'll tell you about at the end of the episode. So, Alex, someone who has not played 100 or so games of paper, rock, scissors in the last 2 weeks, how have you been?
I've been playing hundreds of games of Get This Baby Back to Sleep.
Yeah, it's a fun game.
That's been my game.
Wait, so has the because you were like, yeah, she's mostly like pretty chill baby, no problems with sleep or little problems. That's changed?
No, not really.
Oh.
It's just sometimes at night she's pretty active. So I have her, I think I mentioned this on the last show, I have her up until 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes Abby will rock her to sleep about 7, 8 o'clock-ish, and she'll wake up about 11:30, midnight, somewhere in that ballpark. But it takes a good hour of feeding, playing, rocking, trying to put her to sleep, not getting her to sleep, that kind of stuff, until she actually just falls asleep. And then she's out until about 4 a.m. So
Yeah.
There's good little windows in there, and she's still objectively an easy baby. From everything I've been told, objectively an easy baby. And she's starting to get more engaged with the world. She's starting to play a little more. I will say, I got asked at a game night, oh, hey, does having the baby around, have you been able to play more games with that? And I said, are you crazy? No. Absolutely not. So, no, haven't been playing more games. And in fact, Sean, as we'll talk about in recent plays, it's not uncommon for you to just have one new play.
Yeah.
It is rare for me to just have one new play. So I think that will tell you whether I'm playing more games or not. Yeah, how are you doing?
Good, doing good. I am very much looking forward to a full week off after Christmas. That'll be the first time I've taken that much time off in probably 4 years, maybe 5. So I am very much looking forward to it. I need it. This is if any of you out there have family law friends or family, we're going through some tough times right now. Because the period leading up to the holidays, there's all of these like holiday time-sharing disputes, and it's just exhausting. It's exhausting. So I am very much looking forward to my week off. So that's how I am. I was telling you earlier, I was scheduled to have 2 full-day trials today, and I can't do 2 trials at once, Alex. It's just not something I can manage. But
No?
fortunately, I got those settled. So yeah, I'm good. I'm pretty good.
Okay.
Although then there's Machi Koro, right? But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
That's for I'm curious what percentage of the listenership, when they saw that in the guild or saw this in the episode description, said, "Oh," and we'll talk. Yeah, we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. You want to kick us off, Sean? What's the one new recent play?
Well, so I'll talk about the recent play, but I do want to mention Pokemon again and my new Pokemon, mine and Chewy's Pokemon journey. So I think last time we recorded, Chewy and I had not yet attended our first Pokemon tournament, I don't believe. So since then, we've now gone either 3 or 4 Sundays in a row. And last Sunday and the Sunday before, we did these little Pokemon tournaments. So the first one, it was supposed to be just a casual play and trade day. And then one of the shop owners was like, hey, do you guys want to like just throw together like a little informal tournament? And we're like, yeah, cool. So there are only 5 of us. No big deal. I have to sit next to Chewy during the tournament. So, and then she like nudges me when I need to shuffle her deck for her. Because, oh my God, there's so much shuffling in Pokemon, like in the middle of the game. Like you're constantly like searching your deck, shuffle, search your deck, shuffle. So 3-round tournament, I wound up winning the tournament. My very first Pokemon tournament, I won it. That was pretty cool. And it was mostly adults. It was, except for Chewy. It's pretty much all adults and Chewy. So that was cool. And she was very excited. I put pictures on Twitter. Her first tournament, she was super excited. She had a blast. She lost all of her games, but that's okay. She was fine with that. We're learning. Then we went back and we had an 8-person tournament this last Sunday. And once again, I went 3-0. I won the tournament, Alex. Apparently I'm pretty good at Pokemon. So
I still think you should play the video game, by the way.
Okay. Well, I'm busy playing Pokemon TCG online right now, or PTCGO.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, he's into it now.
I am super into it. Here's the thing. In some respects, I am enjoying Pokemon much more than I have been enjoying Magic.
Oh.
Now, let me make sure that's clear. Magic is, I think, in many ways the better game, especially if you're playing the Commander format. I have very little opportunities to play Commander. Most of my Magic is playing Arena online, which is drafting and standard. I don't like drafting unless I've very heavily invested in learning that particular expansion format, because otherwise it's a waste of time, and you're not like, you have to like pay for drafts. If I know an expansion well enough and I know the drafting environment well enough because I've done the research, I've watched videos, whatever, I can pretty much draft for free for weeks and weeks and weeks. The last 2 sets I haven't done that for, and so I don't even bother with that, which means my only other way to play is standard, which is just mind-numbingly boring, or I could play the other format, historic. Although they now have this like Hearthstone type format called Alchemy, where the cards like generate things very much like Hearthstone, because it's Hearthstone was designed to be played solely on a device. There's no paper way to play it. So they're starting to like lean into that, which has the community kind of up in arms. But anyway, Pokemon is great. Actually today, Chewy went on a field trip to Old Town. There was this new game shop in Old Town, and my mom went as one of the chaperones, and I sent her the address for the store because they went on this little scavenger hunt. And I said, hey, if you get a chance, take Chewy in there. My mom bought her 1 pack of the new expansion Pokemon Fusion Strike, and she waited for me to open it up. She came home. She was like, hey, I waited for you to open it. Very cool. Opened it up, and we opened Mew VMAX, which is like the big chase card. It's like a $40 card from the set, like big chase card. We've now opened 2 Mew VMAXs, and I think 2 Mew Vs, which are what Mew VMAXs evolve from. And so we're almost there building a Mew VMAX deck, which is like the best deck in the metagame right now. So we're pretty excited.
I can't imagine this is peak Sean Ramirez parenthood right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Everything you dreamed for.
Everything. I'm living the dream.
And crushing souls in the meantime too.
Yeah. Go figure. And we're watching like Pokemon YouTube videos. So Tiger Mom, she gave me a couple people to start watching videos. There's this guy Lesage, who I've watched a ton of his videos in the last week. It's crazy. It's super crazy how much we're both enjoying this. I just need her hands to be a little bit bigger so she can shuffle. Once she can shuffle, like, she's gonna be a monster. It's gonna be great.
It's not all about hand size because spoilers, I have normal sized hands and I'm still iffy at shuffling at best.
Well, she is moderately agile, and you are less than, right? So the hand size will help for her.
Okay. All right.
It's all that finger dexterity.
She'll get there.
So anyway, let's talk about a new play after all of that Pokemon talk.
Okay.
So last Wednesday, I got in a game of Imperial Steam from Capstone. This is designed by Alexander Humer, who is the designer of Lignum, which was a game that we reviewed on the podcast, not with you, Alex. You may have been on Walkabout. I think it was Matt and Matthew. I think it was the Wham Boys that helped me review that. We liked Lignum. It's a weird game. It very much has rough edges, which is not a bad thing. Imperial Steam is kind of the same in terms of rough edges. So first off, I think it's a terrible name. It's such a generic name. I think you're in Hungary or Austria or Austria-Hungary. I don't know. You're somewhere there, and you are building up these rail lines. So it's this big map with all of these different Austria-Hungarian cities, I think, and they're linked. There's little pathways, and you're trying to build rails from one to another. You're building this little network, and then there's it's not really pick up and deliver. You're actually you're creating these factories, and then you're delivering some of the goods the factories produce to the different cities. This is an action selection game. It's almost what I would call an inverse worker placement. So placing your workers out on the spots doesn't restrict other players' access to those spots, but it somewhat restricts your access to place on those spots again. So you can place multiple workers on the same spot, but every time you do, you're going to lose influence, and influence generates a couple different things. It determines which cities you can buy workers from, and when I say workers, I don't mean the workers as in worker placement. There are these other resources that you need to help generate actions in a different way. It's very weird. Also, it affects your end game scoring. It affects turn order. So you don't want to lose influence. So if at most possible, as much as possible, you're only really trying to go to the same spot maybe twice. But if you can avoid it, if you could spread out your actions, that's great. Let me say this before I get too much more into kind of an overview of this game. This game was rough, like super rough, super opaque. You know what you're trying to do, right? You know that you're trying to get a bunch of money. That's how you win the game, is having the most money. You know it's by spreading out your network, because basically you're trying to get from the upper right-hand corner to the lower left-hand corner. But in order to do that, you have to I need to do action X. Okay, but before I can do X, I need to do Y. Okay, before I need to do Y, I need to do Z, but it's a little less efficient unless I do A first. But if I do A first, then that makes this other action less efficient. And it was wild. We all thought this was kind of like Barrage. Barrage is a fantastic game. Barrage is probably on the upper limit of complexity that I think you would enjoy. This would definitely be a Princess and the Pea type teach, where
I'm better than I used to be with
no.
So.
I know, and you are. But what I'm saying is, it would be on a knife's edge for you. Like, you could come out loving this game, but if something was a little off, maybe not. This was much more opaque, and it made us want to play Barrage again. We played this 4 players, which I think is the ideal player count. It was me, Jeremy, Matt, and Eugene. And Rory was supposed to be in the group, but Rory was begging me to play, and then he dropped out so Jeremy could have a spot, because he was like, "You're gonna love this game." He says that about every game. But he's like, no, this is totally your type of game. It's like super heavy, super thinky. Like you're going to be so stressed out the whole time, which he knows I like. This was Matt's second play. Apparently, after Matt's first play, he was miserable. He like hated the game, and then he just stewed on it for days and wanted to play again. Right? That type of game. So it was mine and Jeremy's first play. It was Eugene's, I think, second play. And man, there was a lot of really cool stuff. It was really tense. It was really tough. There's this cool mechanism where you can increase your stock price of your individual company, and then you take actions that give you investors, and then you could wind up taking loans by getting rid of a certain number of investors, and that gives you immediate income. But then for every investor you have, your end game score goes down by 10%. So I ended the game having taken, I think, 6 investors. So right off the bat, my end game score is 40% of what it actually is.
Yikes.
There is so much going on here. I am super glad I played this one time.
But just the one time.
I think I'd play it again, but it just felt like, and believe me, I have only described like 12% of the game at this point, and I don't think I'm going to go much deeper. Watch a video. It's a really good game. If you like heavier games, I think it's worth a try. This just might be in your wheelhouse if you like certain heavy games. But to me, there was just an element of, I mean, I feel I'm channeling my inner Alex when I say like complexity for complexity's sake, right?
Okay.
That's something I've heard you say a lot. And I'm
Absolutely.
just like, get out of here. But this would definitely fit the bill. And we were joking all night, like, oh, so we're going to review this with Alex? Is that going to be a thing? No, I would try to think which would be more miserable. You trying to teach yourself Kill Team or trying to teach yourself Imperial Steam? And it's pretty close.
Okay, that's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. My guess is we'll probably play it one more time. And then we'll all be like, okay, that was good. That's a good experience. And we're done. It's worth trying out. It's good. And it was fun. I was certainly enjoying myself. And when I say that, I mean, I was stressed out the entire time. But I don't know that there's enough there to make me want to come back again and again. So that is Imperial Steam from Capstone Games.
Lovely, lovely. Well, Sean, I'll talk about kind of a game and a half here too, and I guess I'll start much like you did with the half.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, had you heard of this or not? I'll ask. I'll kind of gauge early on here, Sean. The Azul lottery. Are you familiar with this?
I know nothing about that.
Great. So when you think of, say, board games crossing over into promotional games or lottery-like games, the first one that at least would come to mind for me is Monopoly. Monopoly game at McDonald's was one there was one time I thought I won the $1 million, and it was just, I had the most common blue one, but I was convinced I had the other one at home, and it was also the same blue one. I didn't win $1 million, spoiler alert. But
let me interrupt real quick.
Yeah, please.
Have you seen the Monopoly documentary? The Monopoly
yes,
game?
It's amazing.
Oh my, or the Monopoly McDonald's. Oh yeah, great.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was so good.
For folks who don't know, it's a documentary. I think it's on HBO. Is it called McMillions?
I don't remember if that's
something
what it's
like
called.
that. Yeah, but about basically a dude who rigged winners of that game, and it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible as a documentary. Anyway, I saw, and this is old news for folks who track board game news closely, but there's a reason I'm bringing this up now. They now have a lottery scratcher you can buy, Sean, in Quebec only, that is an Azul lottery scratcher.
Okay.
And it looks like an Azul board. I mean, just straight up. It has the branding on top. It mentions Michael Kiesling is on the lottery ticket printed out. It's a $3 Canadian lottery ticket you can get with top prizes of $15,000. It is only purchasable in Quebec. It's to honor Plan B Games because they are based in Quebec.
Oh, yeah.
So Azul comes from that area. So it's kind of a way of it's a nod to a local product, which leads me to wonder, will Missouri ever do a Scythe lottery? I don't know. I didn't. I haven't. I'll have to ask Jamie about that one. But in any case, there is a legit Azul lottery, and part of why I know this is I have a friend in Quebec, Melody, who I dated way back when, but we still stay in touch. And she has an 8-month-old. We've been talking baby stuff, and I asked her if she could go out and buy one of these.
When's the last time you saw her?
Oh boy, in person.
Was it more than 17 months ago?
Oh yeah, way more.
Okay, just checking, just doing the math, just being safe. Go on.
Oh yeah, good call. Yeah, way more than that. So she eventually braved the snow. It's awfully cold down there, up there, I should say, way north. Awfully cold up there, and she went and bought one of these tickets. And hey, $3 ticket. She won $9 off of it. So
nice.
Hey, but this is a thing. It's out now. You can if you're up in Quebec, go check it out. Kind of a cool little piece of the board game hobby crossing over into I guess a lottery game. So anyway, super cool looking card. If we have any other, I think we have in the guild we have someone from Quebec, I'm sure.
Is Sylvain in Quebec?
I would think he would be. So Sylvain, if you're listening to this, send Sean or I lottery tickets. I'm happy to comp you for the envelope. So anyway.
And the ticket itself?
Yeah, that too, I guess.
Oh, wait, what?
Anyway.
listen, you buy me 15.
Yeah,
I'll cover the postage and the envelope itself.
Right.
But
right.
Drop
but
$45.
The ticket's on you, man. That's the risk you're taking.
Wow.
So anyway, that's the Azul lottery. I just found that super cool, and the card looks amazing. The game I'm going to talk about, though, is tied to St. Louis. And it's a game that I'd known about for a while, but just hadn't had a chance to play. It's a game called Honey Buzz. Sean, have you talked about this one on the show before? Have you played this game?
Yeah, I have played it. I talked about it.
I thought so. So I guess I won't go too in depth. Basically, this is I would call it squarely medium, maybe light medium game where you are building out a hive.
Medium?
Yeah, it's in that ballpark.
Okay.
Look, the BGG weight rating says it's a 2.74, so that would peg it closer to medium than to light medium.
I'd call it medium, but
if you would call it medium, then it's definitely medium.
Yeah, I think it's medium.
Okay. This is a game where you are building out a hive. It's designed by Paul Solomon, who is based here in St. Louis, and published by Elf Creek Games. And my buddy Patrick, who's also based in St. Louis, works for them, recently hired by them. So some good ties locally to this specific game. Amazing components, really cool, interesting nectar components that come with this. But effectively, the game is you are building out a hive using these different tiles. And when you complete rings within that hive, you activate certain actions. That action might be moving your bee to gather nectar. It might be selling off what you've produced. It might be producing within your hive. It might just be you get $5. But it's a worker placement game. So you place your worker bees out to go build the pieces necessary to add to your hive. It's a place and pull back, so you might take an entire turn retrieving all of your workers. Yeah, Sean, since you've gone into it, I'll just say super solid game, beautifully produced, looks really great, and decent components, and found it enjoyable. Came in second out of 3. So, yeah, Honey Buzz would give that one a look if you're looking for a thematic enough medium weight game. I enjoyed it. Sean, I don't recall. Did you like this one? This doesn't strike me as one you would have loved.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about it. It was fine. I think it's worth a try, and I think the art is really cutesy. The components, like, there's a lot to draw you in, and there is a thematic element too. It's worth a look. I wasn't crazy about it. I certainly wasn't crazy about it.
Yeah, it wouldn't strike me as a perfect Sean game.
No,
but I think there's a lot to like in that box, and I think Paul did a good job with it. So anyway, that's Honey Buzz, published by Elf Creek Games.
I was just going to say that while you were droning on about Honey Buzz, hey, you have to appreciate it. You're a dad now. You got to appreciate dad
I do
jokes.
appreciate it's, hey, game, respect, game. That's pretty good.
Yeah. As you were doing that, I was looking up and I just realized that the Mew VMAX we opened is not the standard Mew VMAX. It's the alternate art secret Mew VMAX, which basically doubles its price. It's a $95 card that she just
excellent.
opened.
Wonderful. Well, it's going to be too busy being used in your deck to be sold, but
we might, if I could trade it somehow, if I could trade 2 alternate arts for 2 regular ones because I think we need 3. We either need 3 or 4 for the deck. So anyway, not important. Not important right now. But I'm God, this game is stupid and I love it.
I'm glad you do. You have to. I think it is required during this break at some point. You find a Pokemon game and you play Pokemon itself.
Okay, so listeners, tell me what Pokemon game I should be playing. I've got access to a Switch. That's it, right? It's all Nintendo stuff.
Yeah, there are plenty of options on the Switch.
Well, yeah, but I have to fight Chewy for the Switch.
Now buy your own Switch. They're not that expensive.
I don't want a Switch.
Why
I
not?
don't have time. I don't have time for a Switch.
You can play Slay the Spire on there.
I've got Warhammer. I've got Pokemon. I've got Magic. I apparently do a board game podcast every other week too, and have to keep up with that somehow.
No, you just do Pokemon. Let's get real. All the other stuff is off to the side now. You're just a Pokemon player.
What? No, I played anyway.
There was on, by the way, just a random note here. On the Game Boy, there was a Pokemon trading card game for the Game Boy.
Oh, okay. Like the original Game Boy?
Yes. Well, might be Game Boy Advance, but it's
okay.
Certainly an older game. Yeah. Anyway, well, that's recent plays, or play, I should say, in both of our cases. After the break, we dive into Machi Koro 2. Well, Sean, the Game Toppers 3.0 Kickstarter is in the books, and thanks to a whole bunch of backers, Game Toppers had a heck of a Kickstarter campaign, more than $800,000 raised to get more Game Toppers, new features, all sorts of fun stuff headed folks' way.
Wait, did you say 800,000?
I did say that amount. Yes.
Oh my goodness. That's a ton of money.
Sean, did you make it in time? Are you part of that group?
It's over? It's over? Like over?
No, it's done. I'm sorry you missed your window. But the good news, Sean, is that if you keep an eye on the Game Toppers LLC website, the late pledge manager should be open in the near future. Take a look there, and you can still get in on all the fun, get the newest features, get yourself a Watson, or get yourself, I don't know, whatever you want. Awesome game mats, rails, something cool to really take your gaming experience to the next level without getting a fully dedicated gaming table, which is exactly what Game Toppers is all about. Check them out, GameToppersLLC.com, because if it ain't a showstopper, it ain't a Game Topper. It was the first ever truly, wholly, undeniably negative review on the Dukes of Dice, one where both Sean and I ripped a game to absolute shreds, and it became a reference point for years on this show as to what a bad game would feel like. Well, now, we're taking on the sequel for some reason. Coming up, our review of Machi Koro 2. Is this a sequel that shines above its predecessor, or were we just wasting our time? We'll tell you.
Machi Koro 2 was published by Pandasaurus Games, designed by Masao... Oh, boy.
Suganuma. It's not that bad.
Okay, well, the print on the screen is small. I think I need glasses. Like, for real. Art by David Chapoulet, Jocelyn the Jock Miguet.
I don't know if the "the's" in there, but
I don't think it is, but I think it's cooler if it is. So this is the spiritual successor. Well, really, it's the sequel, right? It's the sequel to Machi Koro. This is a game where you are purchasing different types of buildings. You're building up a city by building a card tableau. And these different buildings are different types of businesses or their resources like farms and forests and mining facilities. And as you purchase these, it's going to increase your production because every round or every turn, you are going to roll either one die or two dice. And whatever you roll, you're going to consult your little tableau. So, for example, if I roll a single die and I roll a 4, if I have any cards that have a 4 on them, they're probably going to do something. So you might have a card that says, okay, you roll a 4 on your turn, you get $2. Cool, I get $2 from the bank. And then Alex, it's your turn, and you roll a 4. Now, that card I had that generates money on my turn doesn't do me any good. But if I have another card that says you generate $1, $2, whatever. When anybody rolls a 4, oh, great, perfect. There's also certain types of buildings, certain types of cards that let you steal money from other players. There's other cards that combo with cards saying, okay, for every type of this card, you're going to get a multiple of 2 or a multiple of 3. So you want to kind of lean into acquiring those cards when they come up. Now, I mentioned you're either rolling 1 or 2 because eventually, not eventually, nope, I'm thinking of Machi Koro 1. You can choose early on or from the beginning to roll 1 or 2 dice on your turn, and you can go back and forth. Now, if you're rolling 2 dice, and these are all D6, by the way, you're just adding the results together. So in that situation, you know that there are 6 ways to make a 7 on 2d6, whereas there's only 1 way to make a 12, 1 way to make a 2. And so you can kind of play the probability. Obviously, though, as cards skew farther from the middle, those 2s and 3s and 11s and 12s, they're going to give you kind of a better output, but they're going to come up less often, generally speaking. So on your turn, you roll the dice. Everybody checks what they're going to get. Then the active player can buy from one of the 3 card rows. So there's a card row where there are at least 5 unique cards that range from 1 to 6. There's another card row with a deck that range from 7 to 12. And then there's another card row of landmarks. And basically, that's the whole point of the game, is purchasing these landmarks. The first player to get 3 landmarks wins. That's it. You're done. Game over. No completing rounds. None of that. Third landmark, and you're done. They're a little bit more expensive, and their price varies. So all the other cards have a fixed price. The landmarks cost you more if it's your first landmark, your second landmark, or your third landmark. That is basically it. It's basically it, right? I mean, I could talk about the different types of buildings but that's basically it. That's Machi Koro 2. So let me say this. So Alex, I went back and I listened to both the review of Machi Koro and our Duke's double take of Machi Koro. You went back and you read the original Machi Koro rulebook.
Yes. Let me add in here, Sean, that the Dukes of Dice archives on our website seem unreliable at best.
Okay.
Because if you look on the website, it has the post listed as episode 25, rated M for Machi, because it was our 25th episode. But it was actually episode 26, as is referenced in the screen grab. Now, I want to be clear. There is not a numbering discrepancy in the history of the Dukes of Dice. There is an episode 25 that does exist on a different game and is not posted on our website, nor could I find it in the Apple Podcast archives. The only place I could find it was posted on BGG somewhere. Now, who knows what's going on? The website is due for a revamp, and there may be some reason for that that we might discuss next episode. A little hint. You'll know when we're done with this episode, but you should already know.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Anyway, there's archival discrepancies with the Dukes of Dice. I'm just saying some of the early days of the show may be lost to history if we're not careful and preserve our archives.
No. Do you not know about it's dukesofdice.libsyn.com? That's like technically.
Oh, that's oh, good. No, I didn't. I was not aware of that. Otherwise, I would have mentioned it. Anyway,
I'm looking now because now I'm like, what?
It's based on what's posted on the page.
Episode 25 was Euphoric Luck.
Correct. But if you look through the posts in the archive on the website, which is what I tend to consult because I'm dumb and didn't know this other site existed.
Today, the Dukes are joined by honorary Dukes Matthew Ward and Max Wagner.
Hey,
I don't remember.
What's Max up to these days?
Oh. Was episode 25 the one where I recorded without you? That was like the first.
Oh, it was almost
almost
a possible breakup. It's possible.
Oh,
it's in the right time frame.
Interesting.
Anyway, all of this, much like this entire review and reason for doing it, is an incredibly inside baseball. Sean, what did you learn from listening back to the original review of this?
Yeah, and this kind of replaces our like expectations of the game that we normally talk about, right? So I listened to our review, and by the way, let's review. Let's review the review. So in in episode 26, it was the last time we used the 10-point scale, number one. So the next episode, we switched to the 6-point scale. And in fact, the discussion topic for episode 26 is, hey, should we change the rating system? And in fact, then we did. So I gave it like, I should have written this down. I gave it like a 5 out of 10. And I think you gave it like a 6 out of 10 or something like that. Like low, not great. And we were both, we had talked about the base game. We had talked about adding the harbor expansion. We had talked about a lot of different problems with the game. So in the original game, you don't have the option to roll 1 or 2 dice. You only have the option to roll 1, and then you build a certain building. Was it a landmark, in fact?
Yes, it's one of the landmarks.
You build one of your landmarks, and that gives you the option to then roll 1 or 2 dice. So there's that. You had 4 landmarks that you had to build of your own, and that didn't change from game to game. Now there's kind of a rotating option of landmarks that have some effects. And generally speaking, we were not super high on the game. We were like, this game is kind of boring. There's not a lot of agency. You're just rolling dice and hoping you get some good stuff, and maybe you buy the right building. And there was a complaint that I think all of the buildings were mixed together or something to that effect. So like now you have cards or buildings that are 1 through 6s, and then you have 7 through 12s. And so there's some control over that. But we were just not high in this game. And the biggest complaint was like that it was just this mind-numbing slog that took long. The harbor expansion was supposed to fix certain things, but it wound up making the game longer. And we were just not having it. We weren't super happy with it. But it wasn't devastating. Like, we weren't like, this game is garbage, light it on fire, never play it again. Like, that's not the gist I got from that first review. Okay. Then I went back and I listened to the double take, which at this point we were on the 6-point scale. And without having, another 6-point reference to go from, we both gave it a 1. And by the way, we now rate everything here on a 6-point scale. 1 is poorly designed, but playable, not necessarily fun. Was that right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely right. Yeah.
And we gave it 1s. The first, and I think only time we've both given a game a 1. And I'll be honest, listening back, there wasn't a lot of vitriol in our review. And I don't know that I'd give it a 1. I don't know that 1 was right. Don't get me wrong. I hated it, and I don't ever want to play that game again. But I don't know that it's
You just described a 1.
Well,
what are you
no,
talking
that
about?
could be a 2.
No.
But 2 has some merit.
If you're using the word hate to describe a game, it's a 1 to me.
I don't know.
There may be some other factors that you might say, oh, well, it has some merit.
No. And this came up in the discussion, right? Look at a game like Spectre Ops. I hate Spectre Ops. But then again, I hate all hidden movement games, right? Spectre Ops is a fantastic game if you can stomach hidden movement games. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't and I gave Spectre Ops a 2. But my 2 was, it's a 2, but keep in mind, I'm a big Grumposaur, and if you like hidden movement games, then it's probably a lot higher. Don't listen to me. There's a lot of people that enjoy this game.
Sure.
A lot of people. One of the comparisons that we were making a lot was like to Settlers of Catan. This is kind of like a stripped down Settlers of Catan where you have the dice rolling, right? And that's generating resources for you. And that's fun and exciting. I talked about how it's kind of like craps. You're generating money like you would in craps whenever certain dice numbers are rolled. But I don't know that I'd give it a 1. And I'll say this, I don't think I'm going to give Machi Koro 2 a 1. Okay. I don't know this can get much higher, but I don't think I'm going to give it a 1.
I was going to maybe tease this out during the review. So let's not review before we review. But
yeah, no, I know. I'm just, it is what it is. I'm
Sure.
not. I mean, I cannot imagine that Machi Koro 2 is going to get either one of us to a 4. Like, that's just not going to happen. A 4, 5, or 6.
Well, let's do a review and talk about what we like and dislike about the game, and maybe it'll become clear, and we'll make cogent points as to where it might end up and what scores we might give it. Almost like, I don't know, a review.
It's a meta review, though, right? It's a review of us. It's a review of the reviewers.
Any review is a review of us. It's all based on our own conjecture. There's nothing objective in many cases about a review we do.
Okay.
It's always about us and our specific tastes and playgroup and whatever else, with some sense of maybe appreciation for something that even isn't our taste, right? That's where the
Sure.
merit piece comes from. But come on, man. Like, there's at least a little format here.
Okay.
Romance the listener, Sean.
You want to spend that much time talking about this game? Proceed.
I want to spend enough time talking about this game.
I'm joking.
Okay. I mean, you basically said,
All right, well, that's going to do it for the Dukes of Dice review of Machi Koro 2.
no, let me
A 6 from Alex.
Okay, let's not get crazy. One other thing, Sean, because I mentioned, I kind of teased at the very top of the show, forgetting Feldmas, which we absolutely did. We absolutely forgot about Feldmas this year, and it's too late. We've already kind of lined up what we're doing for next episode, and it ain't gonna be Feldmas. So, is Feldmas canceled? Because you were talking a lot of recent Feldmas episode about how grumpy Feld games had made you of late, and how you hadn't found one that you'd liked in a long time.
This is not the first Feldmas we missed. We missed, I think, two Feldmasses ago. I don't like new Felds. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't. Give me my old, crusty, dry as all get out Felds. That's what I like. Rory swears I'm going to love Bonfire. He just swears, like, oh, it's going to be great. You're going to love it. It's great. I play it so many times. Maybe I will. I don't know. But I feel like he's used up all his goodwill, all of his Sean goodwill.
Now, Sean, let me throw this out there. Bonfire, weight rating, and we talked about this in a discussion on this specific game last Feldmas.
Yeah.
3.64 on BGG, so solid, strong weight rating.
Okay.
And an average score on 3.3 thousand ratings of a 7.9 on BGG.
Yeah.
That's pretty well regarded, and I think would make it more likely than not that you're likely to enjoy that game.
Maybe. I can't trust Rory, though. So, I mean, maybe. There was this certain like, I mean, look at games like Macau and Notre Dame. And they're amazing. Castles of Burgundy, amazing. And then a lot of post 2012 Feld games just, well, I'm gonna go into the Alex hole again. That's weird. I don't like that phrasing. Complexity for complexity's sake.
Yeah.
You know? So it is what it is.
Okay.
I'm a Feldmas Grinch, and I'm okay with that.
So here's my whole point. How did we pick this game? Why did we pick this game?
Machi Koro 2?
Yeah.
Because we couldn't agree on anything or find something? Or
we couldn't find anything else. Yeah, that's the answer to that. So for anyone curious, is there some sort of milestone moment or whatever? No. We were looking through Miniature Market, and we couldn't find anything in the catalog that appealed or made sense, and then saw that and was like, oh, that could be fun. And then I forgot we had to actually play the game. And then, I don't know, the joke was kind of on ourselves at that point. So,
haha, fools.
Let's get into the review. And I don't know if it'll be a long review just because of the nature of the game, but rulebook, Sean. Did you learn the game from the rulebook?
Oh, I sure did. And you know what? It was fine. It's a fine rulebook. Certainly remembering things from Machi Koro 1 helped. I mean, there's really not much there. That was quite possibly the quickest rules overview we've ever done. I think.
That's up there.
Oof. But yeah, I learned it from the rules. What I will say here, so my quarantine caveat is I only played it at 2 players. Thank goodness. Additionally, I only played it 1 time, Alex, which is not the number of times I like to play a game for a review. But I'm okay with that.
Oh boy.
I am okay with that. Now, and here's what happened. I actually got my plan today.
Oh man, what a slacker.
And I didn't want to subject anyone at Empire to it. And Raquel was supposed to play it, and I will say Raquel's aunt passed away about a week ago.
Oh,
So she's been helping out the family a lot. She's been helping out her cousins kind of navigate some of the stuff. And so every intention to play it with me and didn't happen. So I wound up using valuable billable hour time, and I made my other attorney. Alex, this was probably the most expensive Dukes of Dice review in podcast history.
oh my goodness.
Uh, because we had two attorneys not billing. I roped her in, my other attorney, Kelly, um, and she was a good sport. I taught her the game. It was fine. She picked it up just fine. And at the end of the game, she said, and again, I taught her, I'd read the rules like 2 nights ago, just kind of went over, set up, whatever, and she picked it up just fine. And when she was done, she's like, yep, I got to say, this isn't the game for me. And I'm like, okay, that's an interesting perspective on someone who I've played games with because she and I used to work together, another firm together, the mortgage foreclosure firm. Oh my God. And we were kind of allowed to play a lot of games there during, like, it was team building and whatnot. But she's very much a non-gamer or a game, light gamer.
Novice gamer. Yeah.
Novice gamer, sure. But yeah, that was the rule book. So,
I mean, that's where
Alex?
I learned it too.
Yeah.
I will throw this out there in terms of learnability, Sean. I think that's kind of the shift to this category. I think I'm thinking of
Sure.
in terms of name. We've had it as rule book for a while, but really, to me, a part of this is how easy is this game to internalize from a combination of the rule book and the rule set, but also player aids and things provided that assist with that and kind of getting it internalized. And I'll say this: rulebook, plenty easy to learn, not very long, not a very complicated game. The card layout helps reinforce a lot of what's going on in the game. They're color-coded, so you combine that with the back of the rulebook. You get a sense of what order buildings will activate in, should multiple buildings activate. For instance, if there's a building that requires me to pay you money, but there's a building that also requires I get income, the rules say if I don't have the full amount to pay you, I just pay you what I have, which could be nothing. But of course, if something like that's triggering at the same time as I get income, well, how do you handle that? Well, it lays it out clearly enough in the back, and the cards themselves are color-coded and decently well laid out. So it does a decent enough job with that. I will say, Sean, this game includes some player aids, some two-sided little player aids. Those are some of the most useless player aids I've ever seen. They're double-sided. The print itself is unbelievably small and doesn't provide useful guidance on either side of the card for anything. If they'd had a larger sheet version with the same information but printed larger, maybe. But even so, not that a player aid is super necessary or useful, but they do break down as part of that player aid for whatever reason. The odds of rolling a 1 on a 6-sided die next to the odds of rolling a 2 on a 6-sided die next to the odds of, guess what, they're identical, and the player aid shows you they're identical. I don't get it. Anyway, it's fine. You can learn the game well enough. The player aid wasn't necessary. It was bizarre. I don't know. I found it bizarre. So, all right. Next up, components, art and components here, Sean. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a bunch of cards, and they're fine quality. I dig the art, and there's 2 pretty chunky dice. The coins. So in the original game, I believe there were cardboard coins. Here they are, these plastic coins, a little chunky. And when I first saw them, I'm like, ooh, those are nice. Except that they all have mold injection little rivets.
Yes.
That are kind of annoying. And okay, if I really loved this game and enjoyed this game, I'd probably sit down and I'd take an X-Acto knife and just smooth them all out. I'm not going to do that. It was, at first I was like, oh, nice. That's pretty nice. But in the end, not so much.
Everyone I played that game with commented on how weird the texture and feel of that as a plastic coin was.
Interesting.
They sort of look metal, but they're not metal. They're plastic. But they aren't the kind of plastic you'd expect. I don't know how to describe it, but the coins are weird. They feel weird. I will add, Sean, I think this belongs here. This insert is unnecessarily. This box is unnecessarily large for what's in there. I mean, it's about 70% empty space in that box.
Well. This is a little bit of deja vu because we brought this up in our first review, and we said, well, it's got all of it's because it's the same insert or close to it from what I remember. And basically, I think it's room for expansion, so you can include expansions in the box. So it is what it is. That's.
But it's one of those things that I know this from working at a publisher, but it's a thing that a publisher does to juice up or justify a higher price point on a game. So,
sure. Okay.
I mean, I get why it's there. It's completely unnecessary for this game. Even granting that you could have space for expansions, you could rearrange that and still have the same amount of room for expansions and have a 30% smaller box easily. I don't know.
Let's say 27%.
Oh, 27. Okay, thank you. Very specific. Other than that, the art's lovely. The cards are decent quality. There's not a ton to complain about there, I guess, but I wouldn't say it's a standout. It's the same kind of Machi Koro look. If you like that look before, you'll like this one just fine. There's nothing groundbreaking with it. So, gameplay, Sean. Did they fix the Machi Koro 2 with this?
You know, Alex, I still like Catan. Catan is not a game that I'm itching to play with any regularity, but it is a game that has a very special place in my heart. It was the first Euro style game that I played when I've said it before. I have the English first edition that came out in like 95, 96. I went into game days at Paradise Valley Mall in Phoenix. Game days was the first, my first job, my first real job. I worked there for a Christmas season in a game store. And I went in, and I think I had just read about Settlers of Catan in Inquest magazine, and I picked it up, and man, I had so much fun playing that game. We lost the components. My buddy Mitch, his sister Heather borrowed the game, and she lost the black player components, and I had to remake them out of dowel or balsa wood. Sorry. And here's the thing with Settlers of Catan, right? Like, it's fun to spread out your little empire and get access to more hexes so that you're always getting something whenever the dice are being rolled. But then there's all the downtime of the actual player turns, and someone's deciding, and there's trades that are happening, and you're just like, just roll the dice. Let's just roll the dice. I need to get more stone. I need to get more wheat. And so Machi Koro, it condenses the game to just that, rolling the dice. There's one resource instead of 4 resources, and it distills all of that into, in theory, a short, tight little experience. And I'll tell you, when I played Machi Koro 1, I loved my first play or two of it. I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. So Machi Koro 2, I think it fixed some of the problems. Not knowing or having a really bad availability of buildings, not having them separated by 1 through 6s and 7 through 12s.
Well, Sean, let me add something, because I just
Sure.
looked this up in the rule book of the original Machi Koro. There is no deck. You literally take all of the buildings, and they're all available at all times.
Oh, that's right.
Which, in retrospect, this does a way better job of... Yeah, and as you mentioned, Sean, let's give credit where credit's due. If you want to play Machi Koro, this is a way better game than the original Machi Koro.
Yes, I think it is. But ultimately, I was just bored. I was bored the whole time. I mean, so, okay, cool. You roll a die. Nothing happens. I don't have that particular number. You steal from me. Well, I don't have enough money, or I don't have any money, whatever. Oh, cool. We rolled my number, and I've really invested in these 6s. And so I've got a bunch of money. I'm going to buy a new building. Great, awesome. And then there's the ebb and flow of your cash availability. You're saving up because you want to buy a landmark, but you got to weigh that against what happens if my opponent is able to steal a good chunk of it from me, and they could steal a lot. Like there's the possibility of them stealing a lot. Um, but there's no point in this game where I will ever feel clever. There is nothing that I can do in this game that is going to make me go, oh, that was, well, what a huge turn, what a huge experience. Like, oh, I can't believe that. There's nothing memorable. There's not a time when you're gonna think back to a certain play of this game and how, oh, you needed to roll a 6 and so you rolled a 6. It's just not a memorable game. And looking at BGG with almost 8,000 votes, it's a 7.5. That's a solid score. That is super solid. And it's interesting to me because our gaming tastes are much closer now than they were back in episode 26. If anything, this was more likely to be an Alex game than a Sean game. But but it's not. I'm looking back at the original Machi Koro. Oh, interesting. Original Machi Koro with... actually, I think I had the vote count wrong. Original Machi Koro is a 6.6.
Yeah. Significantly lower.
So... ultimately, this game is not interesting. I didn't find any meaningful decisions. One turn nothing that you're doing on that turn is that interesting. I think there's some interesting things about the different cards that are available. The landmarks, I think, the changing landmarks add to this game a little bit, but ultimately at its core, it's not that different in terms of an experience from the original Machi Koro.
So, Sean, I played this twice for this review because I'm dedicated to you, the listener. I played it at 3 and I played it at 2. Played it at 3 at a game night and played it at 2 with Abby. And at 3, the game ended after a whole bunch of empty turns on someone just happened to roll the right number, bought the landmark that lets them take another turn, and then rolled that same number again and just won.
Awesome.
Went from 1/3 of the way to victory to all the way to victory. Now, the thing I'll say that's positive about this game is it does push itself towards a conclusion. There will not be a never-ending game of this. You will buy enough buildings. The buildings cannot be stolen in such a way that the economy is constantly increasing.
Mm-hmm.
This game will end, which is necessary because, what if people just roll 3s all the time and it's just 3s nonstop? Well, someone will win eventually by getting enough coins to take advantage of that. That's just kind of the nature of this game. Because even if you're broke, you'll get $1, and there's likely something you can buy for that. And part of what's nice about this game now is the different buildings coming out at different times. You can, in theory, have multiple different strategies or take different paths. I played this one with Abby, and Abby has more desire for complexity than she realizes, I think, and is more of a gamer than she realizes. Because she said her reaction to it was equally bleh. Everyone I played it with had the same reaction of just And her reaction to it, though, was, it's cute, though, and I could see us playing this with Ruby someday. And as an introductory game, sure, absolutely. Easy to explain, easy to understand. Some basic reading comprehension needed, but you could play this one pretty early on and have a more enjoyable time than you probably would with most kids' games with a kid. I think Chewie, this would be too simple for Chewie at this stage if she's into Pokemon.
Yeah.
But I think there's a window where it could have worked.
And what I'll say is Chewie wanted to play this game, and I kind of made sure that didn't happen because, well, so here's the thing. Chewie would have been bored with this game. She has, her attention span is an issue. And the length of this game, even though you're right, it does move to a conclusion much faster than the original Machi Koro did. Oof. I can just see her being like, yeah, I'm done. I think we're done. I think we're done here, like halfway through the game.
Could be. I think the turns are snappy enough that that might not be the case, and there is some glee that she might get from, say, "Oh, I stole some of your money," or "I did this," or whatever else. So I think maybe not, but I mean, obviously, you know her far better than I do. So
I'd like to think, yeah.
yeah, I'd hope so. In any case, I don't. I think there is a spot in this for someone, and I sort of get where the like comes from. And again, they have dramatically improved this game. The problem is the game at its core is not very interesting and hasn't ever been very interesting. And this does not make it more interesting enough for again, even as you described, folks who are newer gamers and not, say, hardcore, super into everything, buying all the games, going to Gen Con, even outside of that group, this has not gotten a strong reception. So I don't have any reason to think it would be, I don't know. Anyway, theme? Are we going to talk about theme? Do we need to talk about theme? Is it necessary?
Sure.
Is it, though?
I mean, it's a Japanese city that you're building, I guess. And there are certain combo cards that reward you. Like there's I think it's the furniture factory that reward you for having more of the gear cards, which are like the forest and the mine and things like that. Okay, great. Perfect. You did it. No, not really. I mean, in theory, this is, a light engine builder without much of a theme, but with a decent board presence, cutesy art, but it's not a supremely thematic experience. You're not telling stories. You're not, oh, I'm the intrepid baker who's coming up with a brand new muffin, top of the muffin to you. Nothing like that. A Seinfeld reference.
There were some moments, Sean, where I would
oh no
get into the concept of just repeatedly buying restaurants and things like that and hoping something would hit, and sort of jokes about this chain of restaurants that no one ever goes to because the die never rolled. So you could make connections. There could be moments in this game like that, but it's a stretch.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you already kind of tipped your hand a little on scores, I guess.
No guild thoughts.
Nope, none.
That's interesting. Because keep in mind, there were a ton of guild thoughts in our first review. There were a ton. Oh, maybe not. Hold on. No. I think I may be wrong because I don't think we read guild thoughts in our first review.
Might have predated the guild, or at least it's
no. The guild's been around since the beginning, but I don't think we were doing guild thoughts. But the Dukes on deck, there were a ton of guild thoughts, and they were merciless. They were absolutely merciless to the first Machi Koro.
Yeah, but not so much for Machi Koro 2. I just think I can't imagine why folks in the guild would have wanted to try this one anyway, especially given some of the early thoughts. And anyway, it's odd. I'm so curious. There's some sort of alternate place or space within the hobby that really loves this game, loves it enough to rate it decently highly, and I don't get it. Just don't get it. So.
Yeah, so I'll go first since I've already, kind of told you where I'm going. 6-point scale, definitely not a 4, 5, or 6. I've indicated I don't think it's a 1. 1 is poorly designed but playable, not necessarily fun. I just don't think it's poorly designed. I mean, I definitely say for my taste, it's not necessarily fun. 3 is game is okay, not exciting, will play in the right situation. I'm going back to the fact that I'm not going to play this game. I'm not going to play Machi Koro 1. I'm going to politely decline if I were to get invited to it, unless it were no, I can't. No, I mean, so it's a 2. Game has some merit, but has significant issues, and I can almost see why this game has as high of a rating as it does. I can't internalize that. I don't necessarily get that. And by all means, if you enjoy this game, more power to you. Like we're not here to. So when I mentioned to our Discord chat, our kind of local Discord chat, Jeremy's like, is this really what you guys want to do? You know, is this your thing? Just kind of crapping on games. And I'm just like, you know, who knows? Maybe it gets redeemed. And um, honestly, I would have liked that. I would have liked to been like, hey, this is an improvement.
It is an improvement. Let's
Well,
be
it
clear.
is.
It is. It
Well,
is absolutely an improvement.
It is, and I guess if from a 1 to a 2 is the redemption story you're looking for, then great. Um, but yeah, I mean, I really did want to give this a fair chance, and but that I mean that one play was enough. That one play, I'm just like I instantly went back to 7 years ago. I could experiences that I had forgotten, I remembered, if that makes sense. And I was recreating them, and I'm just like, oh yeah, okay. Um, I mean, I could see. I don't know. It's a 2.
Hey, guess what? It's a 2 for me too.
Okay,
And
cool.
I don't know if I need a lot of preamble to it. Basically, it is. I can see the merit. I can see where they've made significant improvements. I can see a situation where I could play it with someone, and maybe even will play it at a young age, hopefully with Ruby years down the line, assuming it's in the collection
Nope.
and hasn't just gone
Nope.
and gotten scrapped.
I'm gonna interrupt you. Don't do it. Don't do that. That's a mistake. Don't keep a game because you think Ruby's gonna like it. There's gonna be plenty of games when
Okay.
Ruby that I made that mistake with Chewy, and a couple years ago I'm like, no, you know what? We're gonna whatever's out and she's gonna enjoy. We'll play it. I don't need to keep a game taking up shelf space because maybe we'll play it together. Maybe she'll like it.
So
Not
Sean,
worth
you but here's the thing, Sean. You haven't seen my basement.
Uh-huh.
It's a big basement. There's a
Okay.
lot of room down there for stuff.
All right. You do you, Alex.
I'm just saying, when you maybe make it to St. Louis for a Ben Folds concert.
Oh, yeah. No, that's totally happening.
Well,
Are we
no, I know. I asked you because Abby asked me, "Hey, is that happening?" And then I asked, I posted a comment for context for folks. Sean asked me if Abby and I want to go to a Ben Folds concert with Sean next year when Ben Folds is in town
in St. Louis?
in St. Louis, and I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And then you said, "Great, what tickets? What section do you want?" I said, "I don't know, any section's fine. Like we'll pay whatever, any of these." And then you didn't respond, and then I responded back and said,
Oh, you
"Hey,
did?
is this still a thing?" And then you didn't respond back to that either. So I'm
Oh,
glad
shoot.
I'm glad it's still a thing. But
Yeah, I totally have 4 tickets for us.
hey, okay,
And they're pretty decent. Ben Folds is my favorite artist. And Abby likes him too. Abby went to his Paper
Absolutely.
Airplane tour, which was
Yeah.
super cool. It's where you would put a song request on a piece of paper, turn it into a paper airplane, and then throw it at the stage. And then he'd pick him up and he'd just start playing. He is such a great performer. This will be my 5th Ben Folds show. And what a perfect, I mean, you've been trying to get me out there forever, and all it took was Ben Folds.
that's right.
What are the chances of us having barbecue one day every day of the weekend? Or once a
Oh,
day.
Oh, chances if you want that is
Oh my
100%.
I'm so
If
excited.
you would like that, it's 100%.
Perfect.
Yes,
Perfect.
I will make sure you do not go unbarbecued. So,
Awesome. Just
Yeah.
lather me up in
Anyway.
delicious St. Louis barbecue sauce.
Why did this come up? Oh,
I don't
because you get to see my basement, which is where Machi
Oh,
Koro 2
right,
is going
right,
to go. And for who knows in the future, but maybe even Ruby won't like it in the future. We'll see. I'll give you the update on the Duke's octuple take. 5-6 years, whatever years in the future.
So here's what I think, right? So Machi Koro 1, we gave a 1. Machi Koro 2, 9 years later, we gave a 2. So Machi Koro 6,
Oh,
that'll be 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'll be what's 4 times 9?
36.
36. So it will be 20 what is that? In 2050 something,
Oh boy.
the Machi Koro 6 will get boxcars from the Dukes of Dice.
If we're still doing the show in the 2050s,
Yeah.
something very, very odd has happened where we've suddenly got like randomly famous.
Uh-huh.
Like Mr. Beast. Are you familiar with Mr. Beast, Sean?
That sounds familiar.
I wouldn't be surprised if Chewie's a big fan. We'll talk about this later. In any event, that's our review of Machi Koro
Oh,
2.
on YouTube. Yeah. She knows Mr. Beast.
Okay. That's our review of Machi Koro 2. A bizarre review, to say the least. A 2 from Sean and a 2 from me. Not quite ones, but not quite much better either.
You are listening to the Dukes of Dice, proud members of the Dice Tower Network. For other great shows in the network, check out dicetowernetwork.com. Back to Alex and Sean for this week's Dukes Double Take.
Next up, we're taking a look back at episode 240, The Castles of Tuscany, where we reviewed the Castles of Tuscany. Sean, at the time you gave this one a 3. You said, maybe if I have played this one at 3 or 4 afterward, don't feel better about this, it could drop to a 2. And this one was, in your word, a slog, and you used the term felled humbug to describe your take on this game. You were not a fan of this sort of streamlined successor to Castles of Burgundy. I gave this one a 4, but I said, hey, I'd recommend playing this at 3 or 4. This is Castles meets Ticket of Ride, and if you come in with that mindset, I think you're going to have a better time. Sean, had you played this game since?
I have not played it since, and I have since sold it at a gamer's garage sale.
Okay. Does that mean it's an auto 2 in this case, or is it just kind of still in that 3-ish?
No, I'd keep it at a 3. I would play this again, not at 2, but I would play this again. If it came up, probably a little begrudgingly, and I'd probably, but I'd play it again. But yeah, felled humbug, man. Like, give me that old time felled goodness. That's
Felled
that's
and
what
roll?
I'm about. Felled and roll.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right. So I have played this one since the review once, and that was enough. And it didn't really hold up, and it just isn't. It isn't supremely exciting, right? I think it compared to, say, a Castles of Burgundy, the dice game, which I thought failed on every conceivable level. I don't think that's this game.
Yeah,
but it's not to the level of and not that it's trying to be, but it's not even to the level of a lighter Feld in a lot of ways. And so for me, I think it belongs squarely in that category, probably on the higher end, but a 3. Game is okay, not exciting. We'll play in the right situation. And I'll say, Sean, this one has not seemed to take off because this one only had one guild comment from D. Shannon, who said, a year ago, I said I wouldn't be surprised if Castles of Tuscany had left the collection. However, it has stayed off the trade pile at my wife's request. We actually enjoy it quite a bit at 2. We never play it when we have time for Burgundy, but it's sticking around as more of a filler Feld. Stays at a 4. So there's some folks who are still playing this one a year on, but broadly I'd say I'm certainly not excited about it. Less excited than I was a year ago.
I mean, it's hard when this is sort of a successor, a lighter successor to Castles of Burgundy, which for many people, myself included, and I think yourself included, is a masterpiece. I mean, it is just incredible. It is such an amazing game. And yeah, this was fine. This is a fine game. It's not going to drop to a 2. It's a 3, but yeah.
All right. That's a very quick double take. Stays at a 3 for Sean and moves from a 4 to a 3 for me. We're not quite done yet. Honorable mentions. First up, Alex Bistecki. So these are names we didn't quite pick. Alex Bistecki's was one of them, who came up with King in the Castle. Yeah.
You're not going to do a Borat voice with it?
No.
Oh.
I mean, if you want to, I guess, but...
Yeah, go ahead.
No, if you want to.
Well, why not? That's the whole point.
I don't know. I don't think I've seen... Actually, I'm very familiar with Borat culturally.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it.
It's fun. I mean, and Borat 2 was pretty good.
Has an appeal, but anyway, it's a Borat reference.
King in the Castle. Never mind. That was terrible.
Right.
I regret my decision immediately.
Awful. Anyway, that's Alex Bistecki with King in the Castle, referencing Castles of Tuscany, and then saying, you're not a king in Machi Koro, but it's close enough. I think you're a mayor in Machi Koro, not a king. So I don't know if it's really that close, but anyway. good name and good reference.
And then D. Shannon suggested Rite of Succession. We've got 2 games that are sort of successors, Machi Koro 2 to Machi Koro, Castles of Tuscany to Castles of Burgundy. And I think, there was also a reference, there was a Star Trek episode.
Yes.
Which is when the
Klingons pick a new leader.
Yeah, well, hold on. I'm going to do a little deep dive.
Oh, there's more
here.
to it. Okay, sorry.
So, the Klingon Emperor, I believe it was Kempek, and I believe that Kempek is actually one of Berkey. I don't know if it's his BGG handle. Berkey, sponsored the show Game Toppers.
Yeah.
I think that's his. Yeah. Kempek dies, and so he has to be. They have to get a successor, and so Jean-Luc Picard, Captain of the Enterprise, gets appointed as the arbiter of succession, I believe. This is all from memory. I didn't look any of this up because this is deep dives. And it's between Galron and Duras. Is that his full name? Because there's the Duras sisters. It's the House of Duras. I can't remember if that's his actual name or not. Lursa and Beitor are the sisters. Good episode. Great episode. Fantastic episode. I believe written by Ronald D. Moore, who he did all the political stuff in Next Generation. He's the showrunner and creator of the All-Star Galactica reboot.
My eyes glazed over. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, BJ from Board Game Gumbo with Heirs to the Throne, spelled THROWN. And that's referencing the successor games, the good and bad reviews, and the dice that you have in Machi Koro 2. So, Heirs to the Throne.
It's not throwing them out, the games that are thrown out?
It might be in the case of both of these. So, there you go. Good name, BJ.
And then Steve O'Rourke, the name father, he came up with Wait and Sequel. Again, sequel games, kind of wait and see attitude. What are we going to think of these, right? Solid.
Yeah.
Very solid.
Yeah, really solid. Probably the runner-up. And then finally, Kyle Kelly attempting the one-word name, only previously accomplished by Sean Connery, but not this time. Not this time, Kyle. But good try. Shiro, which is the Japanese word for castle, so kind of blending Machi Koro, the Japanese side of that, with Castles of Tuscany, and that's how you get Shiro. Clever, but not the winner this time. Good try, Kyle.
Very nice, Guild. Good job by all. Highly recommend that you go participate in the naming competition if you haven't done so already. Join the Guild. Lots of good stuff over there. Well, all right, Alex. This is look at that. It's been on the short side. I guess we didn't want to spend too much time talking about Machi Koro 2.
Or the double
Castles. Or Castles
really.
of Tuscany.
Honestly, I'm surprised the episode's this long at this point.
I can talk more about Pokemon. Do you know? Okay, I'm gonna name some Pokemon, and you tell me if you've heard of them. Urshifu.
Yes.
Okay. What do you know about Urshifu?
Nothing. I've just heard the name.
He's a fight type Pokemon. So there's an Urshifu. There's a Rapid Strike Urshifu.
Are we doing this? Are we
and
actually
there's a
doing this?
Single Strike Urshifu.
Oh boy.
Okay. What about
we don't need to fill time. We can just end it. It's okay.
Umbreon? You know what Umbreon is, right?
I know Umbreon. Yes, it's another version of Eevee that Eevee can evolve into.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
You didn't know about all the various forms of Eevee, Sean?
A little
bit. There's Jolteon, there's
Flareon.
Absolutely.
My understanding is that the Jolteon deck is probably like one of the second best decks. I'm trying to build a Jolteon deck online. I can't find anyone to trade me Jolteon V and Jolteon V Max cards. Do you know about the EX Pokemons and the GX Pokemons?
A little bit about some of that from the games, not from the trading card game, but from the video games. Yes.
Yeah. So like every year they're just like, okay, now we're gonna have this like new like. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for
Oh my goodness.
265. Thanks again to Phil Speck. A fail of 2 cities. Although I don't know if that's appropriate if, again, Machi Koro 2 went from a 1 to a 2. Until next time, this is Sean.
And Alex.
And gotta catch 'em all.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dukes of Dice. Today's episode was recorded in the Duchy on December 16th, 2021. Our theme music provided by Carbohydro M from his Prime Legacy album. The Dukes of Dice are a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. For other great board gaming podcasts, check out DicetowerNetwork.com. And for all the latest in the Dutchie, go to DukesOfDice.com. Find us on Twitter at Dukes of Dice. Join in conversations on our Board Game Geek Guild. Find us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks to our sponsor, Game Toppers LLC. You can learn all you want to know about Game Toppers on their website, GameToppersLLC.com. Remember, if it's not a showstopper, it's not a Game Topper. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Until then, game on.